Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of, Perfect Talk with Dr. Hlami. As I always tell you that there are different pathways, to agriculture. And I promised you in the previous sessions that I will be bringing experts who have made their way to the agricultural sector through different, angles. Today we are talking education. I have in our midst Dr. Norma Samuel, who's coming all the way from the United States of America. Welcome, Dr. Norma Samuel, to the Perfect Talk with Dr. Hlami.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Norma, I always tell people that, agriculture is such an important sector. But what I see is that when you talk agriculture, people always think about primary production. And the purpose of the Perfect Talk series is to demystify that and not to undermine the importance that, primary production is actually doing in the sector. I always say primary production is the heart of the agricultural sector, but there are different pathways. And I have known you for over 5 years now, and I always admire what you do and the impact that you have in the sector. I just thought, if there's one person that I need to host and profile, you have to be one of them. Tell us, who is Dr. Norma Samuel?
Well, I am from the beautiful Caribbean nation of Antigua and Barbuda. That's where I spent my younger portion of my years. And I grew up in a farming family. So we were into production agriculture. Okay. And as soon as I was old enough to hold a hoe, I had my own plot of land. And we were able to grow our own crops and marketed those. So there were 8 of us as kids. So there were a lot of us. Okay. And it was a way for us to generate our own income without having to depend on our parents to give us everything that we needed, So I grew up with agriculture. I did agriculture science in high school. And from there, it just took off. And my first position was with the Ministry of Agriculture in Antigua.
Not as a farmer. So you're moving from farming and you joined the Ministry of Agriculture, not as a farmer, but pursuing different pathways within the sector. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. So I started out on a research station where we were conducting like varietal trials and whatnot. And from there, I went on to the Eastern Caribbean Institute of Agriculture and Forestry. And that's based in Trinidad. And that was quite an experience. So for 2 years, we had hands-on practical experience. And in the middle of the night, we would be on vigil to watch the cows, give birth. And we had to be doing those things. And the part that we always talk about is the pig practicals. And you would have pig practicals for an entire week, and you smell like pig for a week. But, that laid the foundation for those of us who went to that institution to have a strong practical background in agriculture. And so what I would say to those who have the opportunity to go to a school like that, where there's a lot of hands-on practical experience, definitely go for that, because when you move on further to a college that doesn't offer that opportunity, that practical background does help you out a lot.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from your experience so far, you started, hands-on in the family setup. And what I like is that you are saying within your family, you were food secure because you were producing for yourselves. And I think that is something that we are learning. It is my passion. And I believe that, especially here in Africa, I believe that every household can actually be food secured without having to have, a very big, piece of land, but, starting small and doing something. Food security is in the hands of the people. Would I be wrong to assume that?
That is very true. And so if I could finish, tell you about my education and then get back to that question to what I currently do, that will tie it all together.
Okay.
So after I finished ECIAF, I went to, ECIAF is the acronym for the college in Trinidad.
Okay.
I went back to work with the Ministry of Agriculture, and I got to rotate through different departments within the ministry to get exposure. And then I landed in the plant protection and quarantine unit, monitoring plant imports and exports.
Okay.
Then I decided to come to the University of Georgia in the US, and I did my bachelor's and master's in plant protection and pest
Okay.
management.
I
So
see.
insects, diseases, weeds, and how to manage those. And
Okay.
then I got my first job in extension with
Ah,
with Clemson University in South Carolina. And
yes.
then from there, I came to the University of Florida, where
Yes.
I continued in extension. So what I do now is
Mhm.
that I work with backyard gardeners, and I also work with landscape professionals, teaching them how to have a productive vegetable garden or a
Yes.
beautiful landscape while protecting the environment. So that's the long way to answer your question. So
Yes.
for those backyard gardeners,
Mhm.
we teach them you don't have to have a lot of space. You could
Okay.
do some vertical gardening, you could garden in containers,
Mhm.
and, plant what your family likes. And that's a place to start.
I
But
love
yes,
I love
just,
that. I love that. I love that because you are saying plant what your family likes, and
yes.
you don't need to have a lot of space. And this is something that I'm also advocating for. I strongly believe that in Africa, Africa, it's food security is an issue. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that you don't need to have a very big piece of land for you to be able to plant something and be food secured. I'm
Mm-hmm.
following you a lot. And maybe before I come to, those videos, because I know you started something about, let's talk agriculture. I want you to share with our viewers and listeners on that. But before we do that, I'm promoting these perfect opportunities, and where perfect is an acronym for policies, education, research, farming and finance, extension and advisory services, communications, and the issues of trade and technologies. As you are sharing your journey, your story, I can see how you are contributing to at least 5 of the letters of perfect. I know you work a lot in the policy space, but
Mm-hmm.
also you are in the education space because you are an educator. But you, as you are sharing your story, you started, in the research, you worked a lot with research institutions. So you have research expertise and extension, of course, something that
Yeah.
has brought us together. So that shows me that it's possible to be a well-rounder, you know, in the
Mm-hmm.
space. And the more you do that, it's the more you begin to understand how the sector functions from the different angles. What is your take on that?
Yeah, that is certainly true. And I do like the perfect opportunity concept
Mhm.
because it does, show that there are lots of different pathways in agriculture. So you can participate in any area along the value chain, either from production all
Mhm.
the way to consumption.
Yes.
So you don't necessarily have to be a farmer. You can be an extension agent. You
Mhm.
can be a nutritionist, you can be, an agronomist. So there are all sorts of different role that you can play within the sector that people generally don't think about. So I'm very happy that you're doing this, because we have to find a way to entice young people to get into
course,
agriculture.
of
And so
course.
for me, during the pandemic, I
Mhm.
had to find new ways to reach my audiences. And
Okay,
so that's how I started the Let's Talk Gardening program. And I hope
okay.
that your viewers will take the time to visit and watch some of those YouTube videos,
Okay,
because I don't have a lot of space in my backyard.
okay.
And so we are pretty much self-sufficient as a family with our vegetable production. So
Okay.
most of the, well, not most, the episodes that I am responsible for, because I have a co-host,
Mm-hmm.
um, who's my co-worker, Lisa Sanderson.
Yes.
And so the episodes that I host, they're all from my backyard,
Okay.
showing what we're doing. So if you take the time to go through the episodes, you will see
Yes.
what you can do in your backyard.
Exactly. And this is very exciting. And this is what this perfect show is all about. It's about sharing information. It's about, creating, it's about inspiring hope,
Yes.
especially for people who say, no, I don't have a lot of piece of land. I don't even know where to start. And I'm
Uh,
hoping that, I would also like you to share where people can actually find you. How do people find you with, your let's talk, is it let's talk agriculture or let's talk
let's
farming?
talk, let's talk gardening. So
Let's
if
talk
they just,
gardening.
yes,
Yes.
let's talk gardening. So if
Okay.
they just go into Google and do a Google search for UFIFAS,
Okay.
let's talk gardening,
Yes.
they will find us on YouTube. Yes.
Okay, okay. So I will actually make sure that I share this information with my followers so that they can follow you, because together we can change this world. I believe that. I
Yeah.
believe that
Yes.
there is no justification for someone to sleep, with a hungry stomach. There is no justification for that. I
That's
think.
true.
Yes, and I think this is what I stand for with the Perfect Opportunity
Mm-hmm.
campaign. That yes, let us bring our resources together. Let us bring our heads together, and let us change the world for the better.
Yes, and I believe that. And one of the things I would say to people who are interested in starting to garden,
Hmm.
it's okay if you don't know anything.
Hmm.
There's an extension office somewhere near you, wherever you are in the world.
Yes.
Or you can just go online and find an extension office. And even if you contact us in Florida, we'll be
Yes.
able to, connect you to someone somewhere. And
Exactly.
so it's okay if you don't know. It's
Yes.
finding the people who can give you guidance.
Yes.
And the ministries of agriculture in a lot of countries have initiatives to
Hmm.
get people started on gardening.
Yes.
And so it's finding out those resources
Hmm.
and, getting started.
Exactly. And if you don't start, you won't know if you're going to succeed. And people will know
Exactly.
if you want to start, you want to try, and you can try with nothing. You know where to find us, just, follow us and, click, that, subscription button, subscribe, and we'll be bringing you this information. And, Norma, what I stand for is that solutions are in our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Solutions are in our hands. With COVID, with COVID-19 changed a lot of perceptions. It actually, it shakes, almost everybody. What
Yes,
I'm hearing, the stories that I'm hearing here in Africa is that we have to strengthen our local production systems.
that's
Because,
true.
with COVID, people did not have access to certain things and all that. And and I always say that if people were able to produce in their back, yards and all that, people will not have had, this, uh, impact that we had where people did not have food and all that. And if COVID has not really taught us that strengthening our production systems is the way to go, I don't know what else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
And I
happy.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And so even for us in the US, we realize, flaws in the system because we had, instances where farmers had to plow on their crops, no markets because the distribution system that became a problem. So then in Florida, we had to find ways of connecting the farmers directly to the consumers so that they had markets for their produce. So everyone has had some, rethinking to do about how they function within the sector.
Okay. Norma, as always, how I wish I could have, the whole day to talk to you and tease and tease and tease because you always have something valuable to share. I hope you wouldn't mind me inviting you again because I know I can speak to you from the research perspective, but I'd also like to know more about, your backyard, gardening and all that. I hope to invite you again for the next show. Would you
Sure,
would
I
you be
would certainly
interested?
love to. Yes, I would certainly love to come back because, we have to keep our audiences give them things in little bits.
Yes.
So certainly I'd love to come back and be with you again. And I do love this, venture that you're on and wish you all the best.
Hey, thank you very much, ladies and
You're very
gentlemen.
welcome, my friend.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is our this episode of Perfect Talk with Dr. Hlami. I hope we will be waiting to see Dr. Norma Samuels coming back with a lot of inspiration. Stay tuned.
Bye.